Welcome to Objections with Stan Willis. I'm Michael Morris. This is Stan Willis. Stanley, how are you?
Wonderful. Awesome, even. Maybe even better than that. Spectacular.
My God. The elevation of your mood.
I'm just a guy.
You're just a fella.
I'm just a guy.
Hanging out with another fella.
I'm not your God.
Well, wow. That really, you went from here to here.
You said that. I was just correcting you. You're not a lawyer, and you're not, I'm not.
I'd really like to back up the tape to see if I did say that.
Didn't he say, my God? I swear he did. Did he
Don't look at Nate. Nate gets paid for this. Of course he's going to take your side.
You pay Nate.
Yes, but you pay me to pay Nate. So you can kind of...
Wait. I pay you? Is that true? I pay
It's
him?
kind of like a pass along. Like I get to look at the money and then he gets it. I want to talk about people with money just because you're a rich guy. Fair to say?
I? No, I'm not rich.
Do you make over $30,000 a year?
Yes.
In America, you're rich. So Elon Musk is buying Twitter.
Everyone who works for me is rich by that definition, by the way.
Oh, well, how fancy. I notice when I'm in the car, there's a lot of Chevys and Fords in the parking lot. How much money are they making around here?
Because not everybody can find a 72 Dash to drive around.
Can I just say this? I'm going to say this, and Mazda's not paying me. If you can find a 2004 Mazda Tribute like I drive, it's going to be a classic car in like 4 more years. You're going to want this car.
Are you going to want it?
This car is going to be like the Batmobile.
You can see the road from inside the car.
It's an added feature. I didn't have to pay for it. Yeah. I mean, it's not super nice, but you can buy that car for about $2,800 right now.
It seems high.
I'm saying that's what I'm selling it for. I'm not saying that's what it's worth.
Oh, okay.
Well, since you rub elbows with the elites, Elon Musk, indeed is like a big dollar word. I'd have been like, yep.
Is it a big dollar word?
You tell me. You're the one with all the money. Nope. Look at me. Don't look at Kendra. She can't help you now. We started. She can't bail you out. She's not even on camera.
Kendra, can you give me a cue card here? I don't know what to say.
I just want to know, since we are both, what would we? God damn it! Move that cup. When we, how would we describe ourselves? Because we're moderate or middle of the road. Like we're not left and we're not right. Right? How would you?
We're kind of middle. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're,
I'm kind of middle. You're something else.
I'm extreme right wing.
Are you?
I'm going to shave my head after this.
Right.
I think that no. Here's what I would say. I am for capitalism, but I am for enough laws that keep us from blowing people up on trains. How about that? Okay. But I don't personally carry a gun with me, not all the time, but I don't think that people should be shooting people in the street. So I'm like right down the middle. Fair enough?
You painted a very broad middle.
That's what I do. I'm the Rembrandt of not making a fucking point. What I wanted to get into was the Elon Musk buying Twitter thing.
Awesome.
I think it's awesome too.
The show's over. Thanks. Awesome.
You've been listening
Elon,
to Objections. Awesome. My question to you is, as a person that I would say that you like capitalism a little bit.
I do.
Don't you think this is the biggest come up ever? Somebody that owns 9% of a company just turns around 2 weeks later and goes, I'll just take the whole shit right here. Let's go. What do you think is going to happen? Because now Twitter, the people inside Twitter are now suing Elon Musk for trying to buy something.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
Legally, my opinion is also the same, and we have the same kind of weight in the courtroom. Would you say?
It's funny because what you have is you have a group of people who, for the last, I would say, probably started around the first. I mean, Twitter was basically kind of an irritation until Trump ran for office, right? And in Trump, when he ran for office, did a lot of tweeting. And
that was what he did all the time.
I think that when Trump was doing all that, I think the masses started. I mean, I think there were people who followed Twitter, sports guys and stuff like that. They would do the tweets back and forth and stuff, but it was really just kind of fun and games.
Right.
Trump really started using it as a mass communication device, and everybody became aware of it. And the people who were in charge of Twitter were extremely far leftists, and they began to control Twitter in such a way that people who disagreed with them, whether they were conservative or even not conservative, I mean, it's amazing to me how many people who, I mean, I would always have considered myself slightly left. Just left of center. But I would always have considered myself slightly left, but the left has moved so far that I'm no longer left. I'm now, I've now moved over, and a lot of people will tell me, well, your views are very conservative. And I'm like, I don't think so. But the point is, the people on Twitter who were far left had all this power now, because now we can just jump up and gang cancel people.
Right.
And we can make it so awful for you to disagree with us that, and so now here's a guy who just wants everybody to be able to participate. I mean, he's not even like, Elon Musk is not a far right conservative guy.
No.
He's a very middle of the road political person.
He was actually the friend of the left. Like I was saying before the show, I was talking to Nate about this. Part of this happening is, if you look in the Obama administration in those years, Elon Musk was trying to get Tesla off the ground and get the electric car, have people even pay attention to it. He also open sourced all of his plans for batteries and cars. So in China, like, you and I could get online and copy his plans if we could make these batteries, if we could make these cars. That's how GM and Ford got started, because he gave away his plans. Right. What he got upset about is that when Biden gets in the White House, he doesn't invite Elon to talk about the electric vehicle boom that's expected, and to teach people. The guy who started it isn't even invited. So when you're seeing one side is just getting kind of wiped out in terms of social media, that they aren't allowed to have a presence, now he's just turning around and going, well, what if they are allowed to tell the other side?
Right. And the problem that all these people have is they have this authority, they have this appearance of authority, because now my voice is one of the voices that is canceling these people who disagree with us. And so Elon Musk comes in and says, I have more money than you, so I'm going to do this. And so now all of a sudden they're all free speech people, right?
Right.
Now all of a sudden, so I don't think the lawsuit goes anywhere. I mean what he's doing is he's making an offer to Twitter, to the board, to essentially buy all the shares. If the board goes through their steps and approves that, guess what? He's buying all the shares.
Okay, so I want to ask this question. How does it not happen? Because I think, Nate, what do you say the shares were at 36 and he's offering like 55 or 56? He's offering way more than the shares are worth. If I'm an investor in Twitter and you turn that down, there's not another buyer, right? That wants to buy 100%.
No, I think it doesn't fail. If it fails, it would be an ideological thing where enough of the people who are invested in Twitter don't want to sell it because they don't like Elon Musk or they don't like his politics.
And I get that, but
that's the only way I think it fails, because I mean, if I'm a Twitter investor and you're offering me 20 cents per share premium or $20 per share premium to buy I'm like. Pfft.
But that's what I'm saying. This is an offer you can't refuse. This is a Godfather moment. There's not another person that's going to come along. So what I would think is Twitter's never going to be worth more than it would be if he bought it, right? At least in the early stages. I would be furious. So I would say sell my Twitter stock right now, and I wouldn't be the only one, right?
Right.
So you're going to turn down that much money? If they stick to the ideal that we are going to keep our platform the way it is, you're not doing any service for the people that are invested in your company.
Well, typically this kind of a magnitude of a sale has to be by a vote of the shareholders. It's the board typically can't make this decision, and all the people tweeting definitely don't enter into the decision. It's going to be by the shareholders, and so usually they have to have meetings and they send out their proxies so that people can vote. And you get all those things together, but ultimately, it just comes down to a vote of the shareholders, and shareholders tend to like to make money.
Right.
So if you're offering me an opportunity to make a little over 50%, like 60% on one transaction,
I mean, that's why you have the stock anyway, right?
Right.
To make money.
Yeah. I mean, most people hold the stock for that, and a lot of the shareholders are mutual funds and stuff like that, and they're voting a pocketbook. They're not.
Do you think that? You really think that though? Because from the standpoint of, if I was, I'm trying to think of those. There are some big firms that are DNC. They're big in the back in the DNC. Do you think that they'd say, "Oh, this isn't good. We've got to find a way to stop this from happening"? Because again, it is because you're kind of looking at it both ways. I want to make, my goal is to make money, but am I gonna?
I could see some firms maybe wanting control more than money, but not many people. Like Elon Musk has plenty of money, so he doesn't care. He's not making this decision. This decision is not necessarily a good financial decision for Elon. He doesn't care.
I think it's a horrible financial decision, but you have so much money, doesn't matter.
Right.
But I think if this goes through, I think you're going to see Bezos, like when Bezos bought the Washington Post, what's the difference? Well, I'm sorry, people use Twitter. No one reads the Washington Post. But when he bought that, people are like, no, that's completely fine. Well, he's controlling the articles in there. So there's no,
absolutely,
that Amazon should have a union and all that stuff. When he's against Trump and all those policies, that's all you're hearing. The Washington Post was censoring anything that had to do with Hunter Biden's laptop, anything that was a negative about the shot or the CDC.
Wait, what did you say? Hunter Biden's what?
Oh, I didn't tell you. Hunter Biden has multiple laptops where most of the time he has no pants on when he's discussing things. You might have seen the
You
photos.
don't mean lap dances?
The people giving lap dances were also, he was talking to them on video. It's an amazing thing if you see some of these things.
Okay, I missed all that.
He does have a have a kid with a dancer.
He does?
In Alabama, I think. And I know what you're going to say. What was he doing in Alabama? You'd also probably have to say, what was he doing in the Ukraine? I don't know that he has kids in Ukraine.
Might be the same thing.
You think that girl from Alabama's from Ukraine?
Maybe.
They could be.
I mean, that's the conspiracy theory.
What
are the Ukrainian connections to Alabama?
Roll Tide. My bigger question to you is, what's more of a scumbag move? Having a child with a stripper and then telling people that it's not your kid, even though it is your kid, or marrying your brother's widow? Because both things are true.
In the race for scumbagism, those are both pretty far along. On a scale of 1 to Nate, those are Nate squared.
That's a 5-star Nate special. I just want to talk to all the young men out there. Never wear another man's old shoes. That's all I'll say. Do you think that Twitter would become something different if he allowed? Because imagine that you let Trump back on there, or conservatives that have been silenced or suppressed, because the algorithm, you and I can find a story and post it, and the algorithm, when it has certain phrases in it, will kind of make it disappear. Like, right. I'm trying to think. There was one about Obama that came out. There was a hashtag something about Obama, 2018 or whatever. But when you looked it up, you had to actually put in like the phrase of what you were looking up. So it was 31,000 shares within an hour, but you couldn't find it trending. What you found trending was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that. Do you think he would undo that algorithm?
I don't know. I mean, that's the wild card. I mean, if the sale goes through and he's the sole owner, he gets to make all the decisions.
He said he would take it private. What I'm wondering is, those people that are ideologues like that, will they say, we're not going to work for you? Because what I really think he wants to do is just shut it down anyway.
Well, I mean, people leave all the time. He already runs a really pretty good sized company.
That flamethrower company?
Yeah, well, he actually, I guess there are several.
What is that thing called? The Boring Company.
Right. But he already, I mean, Elon Musk understands business. He understands how it works. And even if he has a mass exodus, I'm not sure that matters. I mean, most of what happens on Twitter is kind of electronic anyway.
Right.
Right. So
well, the guy invented PayPal, so he knows how to make these things work.
Right. And maybe he has to restaff, and that's happened all over the place. I mean, it's a short-term problem, not a long-term problem.
Right.
So the question becomes, like you just mentioned, why is he buying it in the first place? Is he buying it because he wants to do something with it, or is he buying?
I think he's doing it out of spite. To be honest with you,
I think to shut it down might be a stretch, but
I shouldn't say shut it down. What I was referring to is there was a quote 3 or 4 years ago where he said he wanted to buy Facebook to shut it down because he thought it was crap. And but the Twitter thing, I don't think we were all really aware of the Twitter thing as much, like just the average person, as we were when articles were being written and then suppressed, and journalists were then making a separate post and saying you need to go to this link on this other website because we're not being heard.
Right.
And people didn't think censorship was like a real thing. Like things have been censored for a long time. I mean, nothing gets on television or the newspaper until it's been scrubbed by lawyers and all that, like with newspapers. So what was the one, Nixon, Watergate? Before they could run the story, they had to ask their editor, their lawyers, and all, what's going to happen if we run this story? So it had to go through 10 pairs of hands before it actually ran. It's not really like that anymore because you're being fed CIA talking points to the media. So that's why no one ever gets in trouble for these things.
It's not even just the media. That happens in movies that are produced. And
like Pearl Harbor? I'm not joking. How many times has Pearl Harbor been remade? And the story of Pearl Harbor is not exactly the story that we're told.
Right. Well, they're in the entire Marvel comic series.
What the hell are you talking? Do you know who stopped the Nazis, Stan?
I think
Captain fucking America.
I think there's a political agenda and all that stuff.
What? I do. Name 38 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that are political.
I think all of them kind of are. All of them kind of are.
You're not a patriot, sir.
Probably not.
You're a Zelensky. Oh, wait. Are we rooting for him
anyway,
still?
we weren't talking about that. We were talking about something completely different.
Yeah, because now you got me all pissed off to talk about something that's real. I was just talking about censorship.
No, we were talking about Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of censorship. Now, I don't know what Elon's doing. Elon knows what Elon's doing.
I think it's funny.
I think it's kind of cool that I can call him Elon, like I know him.
Like Pele?
Like we were just talking the other day. I could be like a baseball or like a basketball announcer. Yo, the other night when I had dinner with his parents. Yeah, sure you did.
Sure you did. When I talked to him before the game, a guy that won't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I like the guys that are like, LeBron always says this. To who? Not to you. You're a nobody. There was something you said earlier on about when we were talking about people that are moderate, left, right, or whatever. Bill Maher was just on Joe Rogan, and he said people are now coming after him saying, boy, you've really changed sides. And he said, I stayed here,
right,
and the left got so far left that I couldn't follow.
Right. And Bill Maher, in my opinion,
he was the
as
left.
of 2005, he was left.
Right.
I mean, he was about as far left as you could be.
He was as far to the border as could be, and they said, we're going to trump that, and we're going to move even farther.
Sorry, dude, you're not even close. See what we do.
But Twitter's that. The other day, sometimes I like to get on that cesspool and just see what people's reactions are.
I can't even look at it. I haven't been. I've got a Twitter account. I was actually going to close it, and then I saw Elon was going to buy it, so
it's not really worth it.
Just see what happens.
The lieutenant governor of New York was arrested for bribery and racketeering and all that.
It's just hard to believe.
New York, crime doesn't happen there.
Probably. Did you read that in the Washington Post?
No, I don't. I'm not going to pay the subscription fee to read that birdcage material.
Wait, there's a subscription.
Every time you try to read it, it's like, if you want to sign up for this, and I wish there was like a response button, like fuck, no, never. But
you're gonna have to explain what birdcage material, because everybody else doesn't know. You use it to line the bottom of the birdcage.
Yeah. Birds are things that fly and they carry disease. You'll find out in the fall when it's time to vote. what I was talking about is, what was I talking about? I was trying to make a point. Bill Maher. What were we talking about? You got me off the Washington Post.
Where he was.
Lieutenant governor gets arrested. So when I go to the article, what I want to read is I want to read the response. And of course, what do you think it was? Great. Now do Trump. Here's what I want. I want someone to acknowledge that somebody committed a crime without tying it to this family or this other person. Right. So when you see the laptop,
it's like the lowest form of argument, right? I mean, it's the lowest form of argument is if I say, you know, you have this problem and I like to address it, you immediately start talking about all my problems.
The only thing that's worse is LOL. Okay, that's the only thing that's a worse argument on Twitter. But again, it was just 20 in a row bashing Trump. All I want is, here is the article about this. Talk about this. Because you're almost foregoing this to say, I want to point the finger over here. And I think it's a really stupid thing to do.
Well, honestly, so Trump got elected.
Twice.
And the media just had a complete unanimous meltdown. And they lost all, I wouldn't say sense, they lost all pretense that they were actually journalists doing what journalists are taught to do in school. And they even said out loud that they are now advocates.
Right.
Right. And so you had the media en masse, with the exception of 4 guys at Fox, turn just wildly anti-Trump, and that became the issue. I mean, so no longer is anybody thinking about policy. No longer is anybody looking at the programs that we have or what's good for the country or any of that stuff. The only thing that's important is hating Trump.
Right.
And so I think what happened, Biden somehow got elected. It was a miracle. I mean,
it's all right.
It's an amazing story, actually. The way that he was like running last in every poll and then won Super Tuesday. I mean, that's just,
when you can count the votes at the same hours that you can get Taco Bell.
He's a great campaigner.
Oh my God, he was the best.
I mean, you know, when they would show pictures of his campaign speeches and there'd be like 8 people there, most of them in cars. But anyway,
come on, man.
Back to reality. I think what happened is the media and the people who follow that media, Trump's gone and they don't know what to do.
Right.
They don't know what to talk about. I mean, literally, they don't know. They have totally deprogrammed themselves from the ability to talk about literally anything else. And so you could come up with, there's a earthquake in Washington, D.C., and the whole damn city got swallowed up by the earth. And we'd be like, well, was freaking Trump there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it would be. It would be
Trump vacationed at that Virginia residence,
right.
And that's what brought it down.
Yeah. I mean, it was Trump's fault, and he should. I mean, it's just stupid. At this point, it doesn't even make any sense. It's just so. It's like it's just psychosis.
Well, I think
this is the way crazy people behave.
But I think the problem is that if the media would stop talking about, what can they talk about? Because if you have to actually address what's going wrong,
his golf swing,
they don't want to do that because they are on that. The guy's a hell of a golfer, from what I understand.
Apparently.
But when
big hands,
you know what that means. Big gloves,
big heart,
big emotions,
big emotions.
Yeah.
It was like a Fresh Prince episode where he was like, "I got big feet. You know what that means? I got big shoes."
Don't bring in Will Smith when we have 2 minutes left to go. It's not a good thing.
It's okay.
Because he'll slap the shit out of you.
Hi.
Wait a minute. Before we go,
afraid.
Would you let Will Smith slap you in the face? There's no crowd. He's going to walk up an open hand like a bitch. He's going to slap you.
No.
You're a real man. Chris Rock is not a real man. Okay?
Or it was staged. I'm just saying.
Are you talking about the election or Chris Rock?
Yes.
You've been listening to Objections with Stan Willis. We'll see you next week.